working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a very rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way.
Trump has been getting a lot of stick since Wednesday as he had a confrontation with Jim Acosta, and the Twitter was all over it. With the press pass of the chief White House correspondent, Jim Acosta was revoked. The press secretary of the office, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, came out on Twitter with a video documented to justify the decision made by the office. Instead of taking the video as an explanation to why the pass was revoked, which showed chopping far more aggressively than what appeared to be the case, Twitter went even more furious on the administration. Many experts state that the video is documented by InfoWars, which can't be taken as a reliable source, and they have spread it a little more than what happened to be the case. A user who labeled himself as a video editor helped in breaking the clip in pieces along with the original video. It showed clearly that the point individuals were trying to make about wrongly spreading of content in InfoWars video was appropriate. Considering the response, there is certainly a huge stick given to the authorities, with some calling for the resignation of the press secretary Sarah Huckabee. Others are even more serious into the matter, stating that legal actions should be taken on what happened in the White House. While individuals were furious about the way Trump reacted, and how the office revoked the pass of a journalist, Jim received a lot of support from people all across the country. He also took the social handle to thank individuals for their support, saying that the way White House is presenting it and the lies coming from there are unbelievable. The matter started when Trump was asked a few hard questions from Jim on Tuesday. He asked why the immigrants coming from Central America are seen as invasion, and were used in the party campaign ads along with Russian interference, and the argument got heat. Responding to it, when White House intern tried to take the microphone away, Acosta denied. Trump came up with the comments labeling Jim rude, terrible person, as the event was documented to show if the journalist was trying to scare the official off. A CNN also came up with posts on their website, saying that the press corporation should deny coverage to such a person, who runs his presidency as if he is in a reality show, and leave him over to the social sites. Now the network filed lawsuit on D.C. court against Trump White House officials. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders fired back at CNN reporter Jim Acosta after CNN announced its lawsuit against President Donald Trump. CNN claimed the revocation of Acosta's White House credentials violated CNN and Acosta's First Amendment and Fifth Amendment rights. If left unchallenged, the actions of the White House would create a dangerous chilling effect for any journalist who covers our elected officials, CNN claimed. Sanders, who has already meticulously explained why Acosta's press pass was suspended, responded to the lawsuit in a statement. We have been advised that CNN has filed a complaint challenging the suspension of Jim Acosta's hard pass. This is just more grandstanding from CNN, and we will vigorously defend against this lawsuit. CNN, who has nearly 50 additional hard pass holders, and Mr. Acosta is no more or less special than any other media outlet or reporter with respect to the First Amendment. After Mr. Acosta asked the president 2 questions, each of which the president answered, he physically refused to surrender a White House microphone to an intern, so that other reporters might ask their questions. This was not the first time this reporter has inappropriately refused to yield to other reporters. The White House cannot run an orderly and fair press conference when a reporter acts this way, which is neither appropriate nor professional. The First Amendment is not served when a single reporter, of more than 150 present, attempts to monopolize the floor. If there is no check on this type of behavior, it impedes the ability of the president, the White House staff, and members of the media to conduct business. Jim Acosta opened up in a statement about having his press credentials revoked. I have always endeavored to conduct myself as a diligent but respectful reporter who asks probing but fair questions. The revocation of my White House press credential not only destroys my ability to perform my current job, it will follow me for the rest of my career. My reputation and my future career prospects have all been significantly harmed, if not completely devastated. This has frightened both me and my family, and required us to take additional security measures in our daily lives. He continued, adding that, He and his family have been receiving death threats regularly. Sanders is right once again. Aside from his own relentless self-promotion, there is nothing special about Acosta, and any other CNN reporter would likely do the job just as well as he did. Acosta is known for his disorderly conduct. In July, Acosta refused to leave the Oval Office during a photo opportunity, which led to a White House staffer forcing him out. Imagine if every reporter acted like Acosta. It would be complete chaos and nobody would get the chance to ask their questions. CNN's argument that Trump violated the network's First Amendment rights is flimsy, because they have many competent reporters with White House press credentials. It's good the Sanders and the White House are standing up to this flimsy lawsuit, and ensuring that future news conferences are orderly and fair.
Let's bring in Ari Fleischer, former White House press secretary and a Fox News contributor. Ari, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Well, where do we begin? You've been listening to the show. You've been following the news this morning. It's a tough moment right now.
There are journalists here at the White House and the White House press corps who every single day try to do their job by getting the story. Others try to get the president. They shall remain nameless right now. I think that some people like to grandstand and be part of the story. There's no question about that. We hear that from other journalists.
It went on from there, but what is your feeling on this as you watched it?
Well, two things. Number one, there was no physical contact that was anything bothersome. You know, that was incidental contact, and I think that was a false reason for pulling his pass. But second, Jim Acosta has had a long history of being an editorial writer in that room, not a fair and neutral questioner. Tough questions, challenging questions are the job of White House reporters. But when he starts giving his opinion and using that podium as the place to do it, it's wrong. And that's why the White House did this. And I support that. I cannot defend Jim Acosta. When he says to the President of the United States in the middle of a news conference, it's not an invasion. That's his opinion. And if he wants to be an editorial writer, more power to him. If he wants to be a columnist or have a nighttime TV show to give his opinion, more power to him. But that is not the job of White House reporters. And I think the White House finally got fed up with him using his perch at the White House to give personal opinions.
Yeah, well, both have put out their reaction to that. CNN, the White House put out this statement: revoking access to the White House complex is a reaction out of line to the purported offense and is unacceptable. I'm sorry, so this is the White House Correspondents Association. Journalists may use a range of approaches to carry out their jobs, and the WHCA does not police the tone or frequency of those questions. Its members ask of powerful senior government officials, including the president. Such interactions, however uncomfortable they may appear to be, help define the strength of our national institutions.
Let's start with Jim Acosta and the CNN correspondent's conduct when President Trump called on him at that presser. You were there in that room with President Bush. Was this different than the kinds of questions that Bush got?
Totally different. You know, it's one thing for reporters to be challenging, to be tough. That's their job. They do it all the time. It's another thing for them to use that room or the briefing room to espouse their personal policy preferences, their individual points of view. And that's what Jim Acosta has been doing since Donald Trump became president. And I think that, more than anything involving that physical altercation, which really was a nothing altercation, I think that is the rub of the matter. That's what's
But then he kept on talking. Like I'm talking over you now. He wouldn't give up the mic. But at the same time, was it an overreach or a misstep for the White House to suspend his credentials? Because that shifted the whole spotlight from whatever Jim Acosta did or didn't do to whether the White House is being punitive toward the press.
Look, in the Bush White House, you know, what I would have done was I'd have tried to just take advantage of that moment and say, well, Jim, I hope you get your op-ed published in the newspaper tonight. And then on to the next reporter and let them ask a question. I would deflect and try to use a little humor and try to make everybody laugh at him for being an obvious editorial writer instead of a neutral journalist. But the Trump White House does everything differently, and I'm not going to defend Jim Acosta. It is not the role of White House reporters to express their opinion. He makes other reporters in the room look bad when he's the one out there expressing his opinion, because that type of thing just amplifies onto everybody. The public hates it. Ask a question, ask a hard question. And you know what, Howie? What he could have done was simply, instead of saying the caravan is not an invasion, Mr. President, he could have said critics say,
some say, as opposed to I'm debating you.
Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.